How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today I'm starting a new series, being in How to Play series, to go over some decks, more ones that I really enjoy, love, and want and feel could be pretty good going to the competitive format, or even just ones to help you understand it if you're looking to play it. These will be more going over ones that are quite competitive, not so much casual ones, more ones that I feel can be a good bring into the competitive format. And we're first off starting off with one of my favourites, one of my most favourite decks in the game, being King Cold, because I feel this one could be a pretty good one into the format as long as it's built right and piloted right, and that's what this is here to do: help you build your deck better, help you play it better as well, and understand it. So in the video we'll be going over things like the main deck, side deck, Z deck, combos, how to play like turn per turn strategies, some example deck lists, and every little options as well, even tech options, and even as well a nice thing that a lot of deck pros go over to, or even how to play videos, is how to side effectively with specific decks. Some decks have more niches in how you side. So if you're interested in that, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel greatly as we're on our way to 1,000 subs. And let's get into the video and go over how to play King Cold. So we're going to start off with the main deck first, and first thing we're going to start off with the leader, starting with the front side. So this is nice because the leader doesn't need to attack to gain advantage. Very easy to take life to awaken because you've got a combination of the auto with the field cards take life. Gains a large hand by turn 2 as you're taking yourself down to 4, taking 4 cards from your life to your hand, and gain advantage from the leader and the field cards. And has a unique awaken in tapping 2 instead of drawing 1 and untapping 1. Because as you've seen with most awakens nowadays, we either get to draw 2 on a lead, so you draw 2 to a flip over, or you're untapping 1 and drawing 1. It's not often we've seen recently, or for a good while, many decks that awaken by untapping 2. And it's a thing that we don't even see that often in green either. But so that's a nice little awakening, being able to tap to make use of energy, because you have to play fill cards to gain advantage as well. Then when you flip over to your backside, you don't need to attack to gain advantage still, so you still don't need to swing at your opponent with the leader to gain advantage because you're doing it for the auto. You can gain a free 10k during your player's turn using the activate battle as well, so allowing you to sack off a fill card to gain 10k power, and because it's activate battle, it can be used in your opponent's turn and your turn, adding an extra offense or defense should the need arise. And you also, with the battle skill, allow you to manage your fields, because as we'll see in a bit, you can't play out the same field card if you already got on board, and using this activate battle to clear off board so you can play the one you had before is very handy, and having extra ways to do that is very useful as well, because some of the fields you want to play more than just once because they got such strong effects. And also remember with the lead as well, you also get to start off with a fill card in play, and that is our King Cold's Dynasty. So it starts in play, so it helps fitting your deck quicker, because now you're starting off with a 49 card deck because you played one in play, and most decks start in 50. The only one that beats is the green go-to GT from set 20, who starts with 2 cards in warp instead of so it starts with a 48 card deck. It also breaks the game rules by allowing you to play more than one fill card on board because it's permanents, even though they're quite wordy. They allow you to play as many green 2-cost fill cards as you want without having the field skill, sack them off, because most of the time with a fill card, if you play a new one, you lose the one on board. This prevents around that, allowing you to have more than one. And it has that much needed protection via barrier as your deck rolls around this card, because the whole thing is revolved around playing fill cards. So having to play only one would suck. So having this one that allows you to play more copies allows you to get that much needed synergy and rotation for your deck as possible, having that reliance on it. So this is like the key piece of the deck, and having that barrier is a smart thing for Bandai to give it. Then your other fill cards we have is first one is New Ruler, probably the one people feel is the best one. I don't see it really. I feel like the next one we'll see is the better one. But it's nice because it helps you self-awaken by taking a life with its auto. It lets you take a life to look at top 3. And that helps you cycle through your deck to find what you want, because you look at the top 3, add a mono green card and place the rest at the bottom. So you're allowed to filter through your deck quicker because you're rotating through your deck slowly. And the second also helps in filtering, as you can help set up cards in the drop and fit your deck as well, because the second auto is when you sack off this card using one of your skills, you draw one and discard one. I don't like the fact that you have forced you to discard one, it's because sometimes you don't like want to discard a card. But it allows you to cycle through your deck even more as well, so with both of autos you're cycling through your deck. And this allows you to set cards up in your drop without the need to swing the combo with things, or other ways that you can just use effect, sack off the fill card, trigger that, discard it, so you can set up things like Quartz Sky Ribrian very easily without the need for combat. And the search effect is flexible in how many you can look at, because where it says up to 3, you can look at either up 0, 1, 2, or free cards, and you don't have to look at them all in one go. You can look one at a time, so you can look at the first one, just something you want to add to hand, reveal it, add to hand, show it's a mono green card, and that's it. Or if you don't want that one, look at the second one, you find out the second card you want, you can then stop there and add the second one to your hand, put everyone to the bottom, or you can look at all three, because be wary as well, remember, because if you look at all, if you just go straight ahead and look at all three, and you see, say, 2 super combos, you're going to be adding one of those to hand, and the other one's going to bottom of the deck, and it's going to be very hard to find that card from the bottom of your deck unless you've got a way to shuffle. So remember, you can look up like one at a time before deciding if you want to take a card, or which card you want to take. And we got the better field card, I feel, and my favourite card being on Spit Onslaught. This is the best field card, allowing many free plays when abused. And if you've seen any of my videos recently on the channel of me playing King Cold, you can see how I abuse that card. And it's the only field that doesn't take a life, but still gains advantage. So even though it's one of the 4 field cards that doesn't take a life, you still gain the cards, because remember, when it's played, you draw a card still. And it provides additional removal in the second auto, which is when you sack one of your other field cards while this is on board, you get to pop one of your opponent's battle cards with entry cost of 2 or less. Very handy for removing little weenie cards, and making it so your opponent has to think about if they want to go quite like hard in on a 2 cost or less that doesn't have protection. And the best part about it is you can free play out your Berry Blues and King Cold promos, because from the first auto, after you've drawn a card, you get to choose up to one of your mono green Frieza clan or Frieza army cards with entry cost of 2 or less and play it. Remember, Berry Blues are 1 cost, and the King Cold promo can get reduced by 1 for every 2 field cards in your drop and on board. So if you get 4 field cards on board and in drop combined, you can make it a 2 cost. So this is my favourite field card. Then one of the next good ones is Terrified of Realization. This is the only field without an effect that triggers by popping your fields. Unlike the other 2, you got effects that when you pop your fields has an effect. It also helps you awaken and provides draw power, because its auto is when you play it, you can take it to 1 life and then draw a card, so it's optional to take a life like most of them. And it's a good one to help free recycle if you have nothing to play off free play from Onslaught. Because the one thing about Onslaught is that's the better one to recycle, because when you play everything you play, you're drawing 1 and being able to free play out 2 costs or less. Frieza clan, Frieza army, that's great. But if you don't have anything to cycle out and you want to sack that off and keep it on board to trigger the other auto, you can sack off Terrified Realization as well instead, because at least that when you play that, it's going to draw you a card just like Anticipated Onslaught would. And sometimes you don't want to sack off New Ruler, because even New Ruler can look at the top 3 if I think. Sometimes you just want to draw and not search for something, and also you don't want to force yourself into drawing 1 and discarding 1, because you're not always going to want to discard something. And it has that nice little energy effect that provides a nice boost to your board for extra pressure, because the permanent is if you have 4 more extra cards in your battle area with the field skill, your green Frieza clan battle cards gain 5k power during your turn. And since most of them are like 15k or 20k, you get boosted, so your 15s become 20 and your 20 become 25, which is that sweet spot being 25. And then we have the last of the field cards being Unstoppable Invasion. So it's the final card, and it's your in-arch type Champa. So as we know, Champa and Kai got banned on the last ban list update, so no deck has that surprise double strike anymore. But there's some decks that have that niche little way to gain double strike on things to help finish off, and that is through this card for King Cold. It also helps you awaken, but doesn't gain advantage like the others. So unlike the others, you don't get to draw a card from it. It's like with all the other ones, you get to replace it in hand by drawing. This one doesn't. It's only got the effect to take a life and then give your leader 10k in double strike for the turn. But it does make your leader a beast with potential 35k double striker, because as we saw, with the leader's activate battle, you can sack off a field card to gain 10k. So it's base 15, swing, sack off a field card to gain 10k, and then with this already on it, that's another 10k double strikes, making you a 35k base double striker should a need arise. So you can go quite far in with the leader swing. Leader swing is quite important. And it also helps manage unisons with second auto, and its effect for the second auto is if it's popped by one of your skills, you choose up to one of your opponent's unisons and move a marker from it. So this is a nice thing to make your opponent wary if they're playing with going for a unison strategy to try and kill you, because if they've got 1 marker on it, or they've got it's gained skills they don't normally have on the unison, they're going to lose it as soon as you knock off a marker from it. So having this in your battle area allows your opponent to be wary if they want to go on a unison. Then we got the MVP of the deck being Berry Blue, Frieza's Advisor. This provides consistency by searching for the top 7 for a field or unison. So it's got good generic searchability to keep that consistency going overall. And if you're playing the unison strategy, like the unison package or the unison version, you get that added benefit of finding unison off this as well. It allows you to recycle your fields from your drop to your hand to keep your hand healthy. And the nice thing about that is when you play a field card, when you're playing the field card from your hand, you're using a card from your hand to play the field card. Then your leader will draw one, so you replace that card in your hand. Then you get the benefit going with a +1. But if you're using Berry Blue to play the field cards from drop, you're using nothing from hand, so you gain that field card. Then triggering your leader to get that go for a +1, and then getting the benefits of the field to get a +2 to make it so your hand is increasing and by more than just one a turn. It's also playable for free from Anticipate Onslaught. One of the best things about it is that turn 1 playing Onslaught to then draw a card from lead, draw a card from Onslaught, and then play out this card, the Find a Never Fill card, means you can get that consistency to make sure by turn 2 you're Awakening. And if you feel that it's not going to survive the turn and you get removed quite easily from your opponent, it's a nice target, it's a nice way to combo off, or even a target for Bardock Unison for that nice little hand control side strategy, because it's a 1 cost green battle card. And then you have the Unison package, or the Unison packs per se, and the one that the arch I came with was King Vegeta Unborn Vader. Now this helps you play fill cards for free by keeping your energy free, so using the +1 to play out a fill card from your hand instead of paying the energy for it, allows you to free up your energy for ever plays. Gives you access to Charismatic and Dormant for free, so the only real fill card free counterplay that's in the game still. That's at 4 and actually good, and also one of the best floodgates as well. And also can be a finisher using its -3 marker skill, because it's an activate battle where this card gains triple strike, FIK power for each fill card in your battle area. And since you start off with 1 being your King Cold's Dynasty and can play 4 others, that's 5 you can potentially put in your fill card, giving an extra 20k power to become up to 40k triple striker for a battle to help finish, which is very nice. Most of the time it'll be defended against. If you do, you can just go for the +1 instead. The only problem with it is that it drains resources to protect and is in range for Black Smoke. Black Smoke being a thing that kind of hurts a lot of strategies and is sided most of the time for SS4 Gogeta to help deal with their Unison. So it's something that is always in the meta. It's going to be in the meta probably for a long time. That can harm the Unison package as well. As we said, another part of the Unison package is having access to Frieza Charismatic Villain. This is the last of the good free counter plays that you can run forward, because remember Trunks is banned, Yamcha's limit to 1, and the Vegeta for yellow is not great, and there's no black one because Bandai don't see. Even though they've stated that black is the colour, they don't seem to support it with things that the other colours get. Well, unless it's like way later down the line. And it also hits a wide range of targets and get around Deflect by being an auto. Because remember, the Deflect only protects what from the skills that's in the counterplay, which for Frieza is just the play itself. And then the effect Pop Thing 7 or less is in the auto. And with this deck, when you got Terrified Realization on board, it becomes a 15k, means you can actually put some pressure on with it, unlike most decks where it just becomes 10k you have to combo up with. And its existence makes sequencing crucial, and your Unison a huge target, because when your opponent sees you have a green Unison with 2 or more markers on, they're going to try and knock all of the markers off to it's either dead or only on 1 marker left, so that way you can't drop this, meaning that your opponent has to rethink how they would normally sequence the turn, and just to get around this for a play they want to make. So that's one nice little benefit. And then the last bit of the Unison package is Dormant Potential Unleash, being a fantastic floodgate that's very difficult to counter, because with an extra card you can't just counterplay it to stop it from coming in like you can with other floodgates like Topo and stuff. It's an extra card, so you need to deal with a way to stop it, which there's only 1 card, well, unless outside of counter, well, unless it's a counter you can't really stop this. And it is kind of costly though to your hand, as it takes at least 2 cards from your hand for the full effect, the card itself and a card you discard for the full effect. And it doesn't stop the attack it's used on, meaning that if your opponent's going for a big swing, you can stop them, restrict them down to 2 cards, including 2 swings, including the swing that's coming in. But it doesn't stop the swings unless you've got a blocker. You're going to have to try and combat that attack. And it requires green Unison to be used for free, so and there's not many green Unisons that have that longevity, that protection. Outside of the Migra, you're not going to have to use a few resources to protect your Unison, and with Black Smoke in the meta, if you're playing a 2 cost or less Unison, you're going to have trouble keeping it on board. If you're playing 3 or higher, then you're going to have to wait quite a long while to get out and then still try to protect it. Then you got your battle counters, the first one being King Cold Supreme Ruler. This I feel is a great floodgate that can end turns if your opponent's hand is low, because it's got the floodgate of when it's played, your opponent can't attack with your leader card for the turn unless they choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. Not many people want try to discard the hand trying to push damage to your lead, because even at your 4 life they feel they can try and push in, try and finish off. They're going to be losing cards from hand, and as you're keeping it low and just wasting resources, if they can't kill you with your counters and combo power that you can get for free, this could be a hard time to get through this. It's also not very effective with the Unison package, because where it only stops effects It only affects your opponent if they attack your leader. So if they attack your battle cards or unisons, they're not going to have to discard and can freely do that. If you unison package and use this, you just wasted an energy negating an attack, putting this in effect for them now to just swing your unison and not really do anything. It's incredibly easy to reduce the cost though, because it just reduces the energy cost of this card in your hand by for one for each green extra card in your battle area, which is easy to do. Start off with 1, play 1 over field card. There you go, it's down to 1. And it actually negates the attack and provides a free 15 to 20k boredom body on board. Remember, become 20k with realization on the board. Then you have your counterplay in Cool and Effortless Strike, one of my favorite cards in the deck, one of like a very fantastic counterplay. Because it's an amazing counterplay that can drain your opponent's resources, because it stops the card from coming into play if it's 4 or less while playing itself on the board. And if your opponent's got 8 or more cards in hand, you then make him choose 1 card in hand and discard it. So you can potentially make your opponent lose 2 cards, waste energy just with 1 card. And it's incredibly easy to reduce the cost, being the permanent reduced by 1 for each green extra card in your battle area and drops. It's got added benefit, unlike King Cold, of counting your drop as well as your board. And it isn't very useful against decks with big boss plays, but then that's alright, because you can always use it as it's a very easy card to side out for cards in your side deck you want to bring in. And it can prevent big plays. It can prevent a big play, like say with like Red Sin, stopping that 4-drop they can only play once a turn on it, because it's limit 1, from coming into play, and give yourself a free 15k to 20 card on board, because remember, Terrified Realization can give it a 5k boost. Then we go on to the best promo, and well, not the best promo in general, the best promo for this deck, because it's a critical 20 to 25k attacker for solid pressure. Remember, Terrified Realization could give it a 5k boost, and 25 critical is nothing to scoff at. Remember, even a super combo takes another card on top of that to help out combo it, which is still reducing a card from hand, unless it's a Z leader that's 20k base. It can be free play to spam by onslaughts if you've seen any of my gameplay. So if you want to check out some of my King Cold footage of where I'm playing the deck, you can see me spam out deck and see what I mean by that. And it provides an additional way to recycle through its activate main skill. And what I mean by that is that you can use that activate main to sack one of your fill cards to be able to make space so you can play another version of that copy of field, or blue player Alpha Bear Blue, so you can then get the benefits. So one great thing about that is using its effect to sack off anticipated onslaught to pop on your opponent's battle card and potentially charge the energy. Then use Berry Blue to replay that fill card from the drop to then trigger leader if you haven't triggered already. Draw from the fill card and play out another copy of this to keep doing that. So the more copies you have of this, the more ways you can play anticipated onslaught. It means the more pressure you can put on board for very cheap. And not only that, it also offers great removal and easy Z energy without the need for attacking. I've kind of put it wrong there. Without the need for attacking, because you don't need to attack, you just activate main, use the effect, pop on your opponent's battle card without need to attack into it, and then charge the energy without need to attack and charge the energy. And using extra cards, it means you don't have to really worry about what is, or use cards to combo with to get it about, so you can still use Z deck. The only problem is, Green Z deck isn't very great. Then you have some outdated Frieza army support. So you have Frieza Revived and Reviled. This is a 20 to 25k dual attacker or dual blocker for side flexibility. Can be free played and spammed by onslaught, just like with King Cold. It provides additional way to recycle fields, but it's only on defense, which isn't always useful. And it's power crept by the King Cold promo, because that denies resources through critical instead of dual attack. So like this card was straight up replaced by the King Cold promo, because critical and the activate main way better than this. Then we've also got Frieza Demolisher of Planet Vegeta. So this is a nice cantrip with an extra use as a potential 20k double strike. Can also be free played by onslaught. Can perform as a board wipe, but doesn't get through barrier, which is not, like, it's fair enough because it's a board wipe, but yeah, not hitting things with barrier, which is something you need nowadays, is not great. And you also already have Berry Blue and King Cold as better free play targets. Berry Blue being able to get consistency and being an MVP of the deck, and King Cold being your very good pressure. And as well, at the very least, if you're playing, like, say you're playing the fill card to play it out off of King Vegeta, you still have to pay 2 energy just to wipe your opponent's board, not ignoring barrier, and just gain a 20k double striker, which is nothing. You can get better things for cheaper than that. So this is kind of outdated. And then you've got, I think it's the last, or no, not the second from last of the outdated Frieza army support, and this is Golden Frieza Pink Gold the Clan. This used to be the barrier removal for the deck, and a 25 to 30k double striker. Added nice added hand control and hand control that's random as well, because you get to choose one card in your opponent's hand, so they get shuffle their hand, you pick a card at random rather than discard the card they feel is the least useful in their hand. It can also swing a second time with its activate main skill because it allows it to restand, so you can swing, then use the activate main to restand and swing again. But it's power crept by Fated Rival Goku, which costs less, and also has the niche to actually recycle your super combos as well. And then the last of the outdated Frieza Army support is Paragus Sacrifice. Now this adds additional draw power while helping clear your fields, which we've got other ways now to clear the fields with a better use. Applying that pressure in the King Cold. Then you can also be free played by Onslaught as well. So you got that little niche there. And the one thing it does make it less outdated than the rest of them is it has a niche to be on a way to trigger the burn effect on Cell Max to be able to trigger it and make it pop your opponent's board and do damage to them. But it's easily removable and counterable, so likely won't survive a turn. So unless you want it as that niche to find the Cell Max promo, and then, well, Cell Max secret, no, not promos, the secret rare, to be able to trigger that as a way to burn that last life, it's not going to have much use outside of that. Because remember, if you want to cycle field cards, just go with the King Cold promo. Then we have your big green staples. So the first one was off Super Combo, because every deck runs them, because you can only run 4, but every deck runs 4 of them, because they're such a great card in the game. And it's the best Super Combo in the game, allowing you to warp, draw then warp, because as you've seen, probably the next best super combos are the ones for set 11, which allow you to bottom deck a card to draw 2. But the only problem with that is you've got to bottom deck a card first, then draw 2. So if you bottom deck a card that could be useful, then draw to 2 duds. That's not great. Whereas this card at least allows you to draw 2 cards, and then work out which card from your hand you want to warp that you don't really care about that's least useful. And it's live as soon as turn 2 in this deck because you awaken it as soon as possible, meaning you go down to 4 life, awakening, have it live very quickly, use offensively or defensively. And it's also recyclable with the Fated Rival Goku, so you can legally give yourself 5+ super combos thanks to that, which is something not a lot of decks get. Apart from maybe the Expert deck Android 21, as we've seen recently with the events. And then we have Son Goku Fated Rival, one of the best generic green cards we've got in a good while. Because green are getting some nice good generic cards lately, and Goku Fated Rival is one of the best ones we've got recently. Because it provides great barrier removal, which every deck needs. So every deck needs barrier removal, and as I say, because there's some decks, like you say Vegeta deck, the Yellow Trunks deck, and things like that have a lot of barrier cards that you need to get rid of, that are hard to get rid of. So you need that barrier removal, and this is a very good one for green. It's very cheap to play as well for just 2 energy, because of its activate. Just 2 green energy is very good. That's not too bad. It's in line with most decks. And also, as I said before, with the Paragus, it recycles your super combos and your Gohan rare. I mean, you can get more super combos and more use of your Gohan rares, unlike most decks. And it also has protection in barrier, and it's a huge 30k double strike. So not only does it remove things as your barrier removal, removing things through barrier, but it also has barrier on itself as well to protect itself. And is a 30k double strike, which is a nice bit of pressure to go ahead and help close out games as well. So one that like a very good generic card. Then we've got the green Gohan rare. So every color got a Gohan rare with different uses. Some got ones that aren't very good, like yellow, and some got some decent ones, and some got some very good ones, like green has. Because it provides great unison management without the need for black smoke, so you don't want to be paying 2 for black smoke when you can just use this in green. Like green has a nice little added benefit of not needing, well, green doesn't really needs to manage its energy a lot more like tightly than any other color, and black smoke costing 2 is quite costly for any green deck, absolutely any green deck. But this being a way to deal with unisons without needing to pay 2 is very handy, and also goes to helping support your Fated Rival Goku. It also adds additional removal if needed. So if you're going against a deck that doesn't have unisons or doesn't really play unisons, you got still use of it outside of that. It can also assist with extra critical pressure if the need arises, because it's a 25k critical that you can play out, so adding extra crit swings. And also it's playable for just 2 energy and protected from counters due to deflect, which is a nice little benefit. Having deflect and critical is nice. Remember, no card should have both barrier and deflect on it. It should have one or the other, not both. Then we have the Cold Force defense, and starting it off with one of the best negates, and another good reason why I love this deck is Royal Supremacy. It's very set up to be a free counter play, as you just need 3 fields on board, because the permanent is if you have 3 or more extra cards, green extra cards with the field skill in your battle area, you can activate the counter for free without paying the energy cost, essentially. It has the potential to stop more than one attack, like we've seen with token negates, because it negates the attack, actually negates the attack, which is good, and then you get to choose any number of your opponent's battle cards whose total energy costs have add up to 3 or less, and KO them. So you can stop one attack, potentially kill another small swinger that they might want to attack you with. And it's a nightmare for token strategies due to hitting costs of up to 3 or less, and it's got that unique wording where it can hit tokens as well as other cards to make sure you wipe all your opponent's tokens and their some of the battle cards as well. So that is that one. And then we've got Homicidal Clones. So every colour has a token negate, even black. That's right, even black has a token negate now. It just took a few sets after we got these to actually give one the black as well. And just like with the Royal Supremacy, it becomes very free very easily as you aim to awaken quickly. Because as you remember with the token negates, you can not pay the cost. If your life's at 5 or less, you take a life from your hand to life to hand. So very easy to do since you awaken by turn 2 at 4 or less life. And has the potential to stop more than one attack because you negate an attack and then play a token that has blocker to block another attack. And unlike most of the tokens, the tokens you make has an added benefit of being combo power. So three of the 5 tokens, being the one for green, one for red, and one for black, have combo power to make use as combo instead of just being blockers. So if it does on turn for whatever reason, because you didn't block with it or didn't need to, because you don't just stop there and then, you get to use this combo power on the never attack as well, which is quite nice, rather than just being a measly little 10k attacker that can't be comboed off. Then we have your fine selection overarms. Now I know Secret Identity Mass Same was released, but given that this is a green deck and it has quite a few cards that act as removal, like popping things managed to the board, you didn't really get your opponents making a wide board that you can't just get rid of. So Secret Identity isn't a great choice. Now you can put it on if you want, that's up to you, but I don't think it's a great choice. But what we've got instead is SS4 Vegeta Feigned Greeting. This is a free 30k attacker and easy to set up as you just require 16 drop, not difficult to do. Provides additional hand control as a bonus, and it's hand control that doesn't get kind of countered by the anti-hand control because you're making your opponent warp a card, not discard one. It's a good option as you have enough removal in Goku and King Kong, because as I just explained with Secret ID, you've got enough removal in your Goku and your King Kong promo to manage the board that you don't really need a card to help overarm that helps manage the board. You want one to help deny the resources and push through big swings. And if you see not well, yeah, the only downside of having overarm in this deck is if it's seen off New Ruler, they go to the bottom of the deck and you'll probably never see it again. So that's why we want to always look at the top card, a bit for New Ruler, because if you see this off of it, if you just go straight in the free and see it off of it, this is going straight to the bottom because you cannot add this to hand. And the other option for overarm is the SS4 Vegeta Heated Fighting Spirit. So this is basically what Dark Broly is, but it's a power crap because it just has combo power. There's no difference to this Dark Broly outside of a black deck, outside of this having common power and Dark Broly not. So that's the only need. So if you got Dark Broly, replace it for this because this actually has combo power. So if you ever need to rise the combo the card, this can be useful. And just like with the Ever Vegeta, it's a free 30k attacker and easy to set up as it requires 6 cards and drop. Provides additional removal for free if you feel you need it. You can put this in to manage the board, and this hits big things. So if your opponent's got a secret rare that's not 6 costs or less, you got this to pop it or try and warp it. And it's a good solid choice if you prefer the extra removal over hand control. Like not everybody wants, because remember a lot of people see green and see it just a hand control deck, focus on that, and that's why sometimes a lot of people struggle with it, even though the color has issues in itself. But this is not, you have decisive removal on this if you feel the need to warp a single target that without using energy. And once again, if seen off New Ruler, it goes to the bottom of your deck, never be seen again as well. So that is it for the main deck. So now we're going to the next part and discuss more of it. So this is hopefully you understand from that about the main deck, the reasons behind the cards and the benefits they have, and we can go to the next one. Next we have something we need to consider, which is tech options, and there's not many of them. There's not many different tech options because with green there's not much to tech. in terms of like as much as you would have for blue and yellow, but there are some things you might want to consider because some people like to go different routes. First one is to consider Kaioken Son Goku the Furious. So this is a good option if you want to try out a hand control version, like to just bring it down, because that's what a lot of people look at when they see green hand control, and they just put two and two together and just stick with that. So if you want to go for that, you can. And also a cheap being played for just one energy as well, so once you hit turn 3 and have 3 mono green energy, which you're going to have, you can play this down for just one. And it has a nice little potential to rip 2 cards from the hand by the auto, and also by attacking being criticals. Remember, you play the card, make him discard from the auto, and when you swing, people don't really want to take critical damage, so they're normally going to try and combo, or use a card to stop you from connecting the attack, meaning you take 2 cards at hand. The only real downside to this card is that it's not playable until turn 3, but it does work great when it's used with Fusamasu. And speaking of that, that's the next tech card to consider. And it's a good option if you want, is also a good option if you want to try out a hand control version. And just like Kaioken Goku, it's also cheap being played for just 1 energy, but does need some setup. But then luckily, Kaioken matches perfectly with that. It's also hard to deal with, and if left unchecked, provides a discard every turn, so that's an extra card at your opponent's hand every time it survives. And Indestructible White's got more answers now, because we get things like the yellow's got the Goku Vegeta duo, you've got red being able to minus it, you've got as well every deck being out this new Zeno. So Indestructible's not as hard, like not as indestructible per se as it used to be, but it's still not every deck has a way to remove it until we get Zeno. And it's not also just like Goku, it's also not playable until turn 3, but as I said, you do have easy fodder in it via the Goku, and also the Frieza charismatic as well. Then we've got one of the new additions, one of the nice new little TPs that doesn't seem great, because the deck it's made for is terrible. But it is something to consider, because it provides additional critical pressure, because it's got Great Ape Vegeta Last Ditch Transformation, and it's because it's just 19k crit, nice little pressure, and it's also cheap to play for 1 energy, and easy to set up in this deck, because you start off with a fill card in play, so straight away from turn 1 if you wanted to put it down, you have it to play for just 1. And it can also be used for defense as well if need be, so it's got flexibility, because it's also a blocker. And it's a good use of any extra energy before awakening on turn 2, so if you don't want to play 2 fields. Because sometimes you might have it so you play 1 field, and that field along with the leader's effect allow you to take yourself down to 4, and you want to use your other energy before untapping 2, because you don't want to waste it. And you've got a field card, but you've only got 1 field card which you want to play on after you awaken to make use of the leader's awaken side then to draw and gain advantage. So this is a nice way to use the extra energy up if need be. This is a little niche. Then we've got Ginyu, Captain Elite. This is an interesting one, and this is mainly for the Unison version of the build, because it can be a cheap negate while you control a green Unison, because its permanent allows it to reduce by 2 if you got a green Unison during your opponent's turn. It's a way to get back Berry Blues if you lost the drop, because as I remember, Berry Blue is the MVP of the deck, allowing you to recycle field cards from drop, and sometimes they're going to be the target of your opponent's strategy to defeat you by getting rid of your Berry Blue, so you have that less recyclability of your fields from drop, and this is a nice way to grab it back as well. And it also helps set up cards in the drop through his auto as well, so while grabbing back the Berry Blue, you can also set up cards in your drops if you want to put Koitsukai in it, or set Ribrian if you are playing that. You can get that set up, and it was also, but the only real downside of this is that it has a heavy reliance on having a Unison play the function. So unless you're like hopeful that you got the Unison, you have the Unison play, or can rely on keeping the Unison play, then you can make use of this. But if you run a higher cost Unison instead of the 2 costs or less, like the Vegeta Emerald Might, then this could be a better option to keep that Berry Blue use. But yeah, just as a little downside, like smoke does hurt the Unison side of the deck. Then we have Piccolo Jr. Fated Rival. So considering that you really should be running the Goku Fated Rival in your main deck, guaranteed to help recycle super combos and also have your barrier removal, this could be a nice tech card to consider, because the only problem with this, as we get through, is, well, before we get the problem, go through some of the benefits. And that is a great card to assist in removing Unisons, so it's extra ways to remove Unisons, which is what Green's kind of like Unison specialty is. It also adds some extra hand control as well for the attack, because the auto is not once per turn, and it gets dual attacks, so it's got dual attacks, so it can attack twice. And the only real downsides is that the deck doesn't set up Z energy as easy as other decks. So you can get up some Z energy with the King Cold promo to C-Charge and Paragus's, but normally you put in the Paragus's and any green Saiyans in there, so you can bottom deck him to play out the Goku Fated Rival. And this card has a heavy reliance on needing to have Fated Rival Goku on board the player, so it means if you want to play in one turn, you have to get the Goku out if you don't already have it on board, which is 2 energy, and then put an extra energy. So if you can leave that if that Goku survives a turn, sure, this could be decent. That just next turn, use one of your energy to go ahead and play it. But that heavy reliance kind of makes it not as great because it's just a 5k combo or a charge up until then. And some decks as well might be able to just counter it and not really worry too much about this. And then you have Cell's Earth Destroying Kamehameha. So one of the sets, like every color has one of these. They're mostly really good for every color. Yeah, I think every color's got a really good one. I'm not sure if Black's is great, but then, yeah, Black just gets shafted on cards. And it's a very good defensive card, offering 15k power for 1 energy. It also gives you a random discard, which is pretty rare. It's not often that you get to choose the card out your opponent's hand at random to rip them. And it also can be used offensively as well to help go to some swings. However, do remember that it doesn't work to power up the Unison. So if you're going to Unison build, this won't power up the Unison because it only is before the time of Unisons, where we only had battle cards and leader cards as things to play and attack with. And the only real downside of this card is that it does have the potential to clog, be an extra card, which you have lots of. And yeah, because you're playing a lot of field cards that get the draw and like as your strategy, and having too many extra cards with not enough energy to play can kind of clog. But it does also have a lot of upsides to it as well. And that brings us to the last tech card to consider, and that's the new one, Caller Armed Force. It's the new champ pack, which, if you're lucky and don't get a load of bad reprints, then you might be able to pull some of these to use it. And this card is basically a watered down, faded rival Goku in terms of stats, because it's got barrier and double strike just like Goku, but it's actually 10k less, but so same cost to bring it out. It also gives you more discard effects as well, and can potentially trigger twice, because if you can restand it, you can get the attacks. It also is not once per turn. And it can't really be played until turn 3, but can synergize with Fuse and Masu because it's a 5 cost. And the only real downside of this card, in that like it is quite costly, is that it requires a Z battle card just to get the full effect, but green lacks good ones, like in terms of Z battle cards, because green has one of the almost worst, probably the worst pulls, I would say, the worst pull of generic Z cards. Like blue, all the other colors, they have like at least one very, very strong generic Z battle card, and a few other ones that are quite good generically, but green struggles with that. We're really only having the Frieza, which we'll go into a bit when we go for Z deck. So these are some tech cards to consider. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and look at the secret options, because green does have quite a few of them. So as we come out and close out the main deck, and then head on over to the Z deck, as I said, green does have a fair few different secret rares, quite a few good ones, more than I think most of the different colors as different kind of options, which makes, if we did have a more generic green deck leader for the archetype, then it would be quite a good one, because that way you have to like figure out what kind of secrets to be using, because there's quite a few good ones in green. And we'll go over which ones are secret options, because there are some there are like the best one, down to a few good tech ones for certain strategies, and also ones that are like good on the budget. Starting off with the best one, we have Cell Max, Deliverer of Despair, and this is arguably the best green secret rare currently printed. It provides a 40k quad strike for 1 energy, which is really good. It is unique in finishing games as well, using its effect to burn 1 life, so you've got that way to, that only really blue and red outside that have the option to just finish off games by not really getting your opponent down to 0, getting them down to 1 and finishing with your secret rare. And it has fantastic protection in its permanent that only red can really get around, because it's got a permanent where if you have 3 or less energy, this card can't be attacked or be removed from battle areas. So if you play it early, you get protection. The only problem is that doesn't get around game mechanics, so if you drop it against red early, they can just potentially minus it down to 0, and then game mechanic will get rid of it. So that is the best secret rare. Just be able to drop this, we get in turn 4, dropping this for 1 energy and push for a quad strike. That is very, very strong. So if you can get the secret rare, I recommend to get hold of it. And the other one that probably is the next best one is Great Mass Saiyan Primal Carnage. If you don't have Cell Max but have this one, this is a very good option. And also this one, between this and Cell Max, probably ones you want to go between for great options for a secret rare. And it was the best option before Cell Max was printed, so Cell Max kind of like took the spot mostly in most of the different builds for green. And also catches people off guard when going all in on the battle card, because sometimes people want to go in the battle cards if you can control, like using negates to stop the leader swing. If your opponent goes all in, the opponent really can't go all in on a Unison, because you've got your you've got your fill card that can marker off it to disrupt that. And also, as well as that, if they go in for the battle card swing, you always got this to just finish the thing, because it does require 1 energy to combo to trigger the auto. So you do have to have 1 energy open, but then as I said, with this list, is well, as you'll find out, you need to keep 1 energy open if you got this one in. And it's barely played with the activate main, but it is a solid defensive option. So if you don't really care about aggression, because you can put a lot of aggression in with King Cold, giving you other stuff, and you can use this as your nice little strong defense as well. So if you don't have the Cell Max, try and grab this, and it's not too expensive, and it's a very good one to pick up. Then we have another one that's quite a good one for more for the units of strategy, really, and that is Majin Buu Incarnation of Demonic Evil. This is a solid option when combined with the King Vegeta Unison. It is quite costly though, it requiring 3 energy, which green struggles to manage, because green has to manage its energy a lot more and a lot more than any other color. And it also helps push through your King Vegeta Unison to finish with its -3 effect. So as you remember, with the King Vegeta Unison, as a -3 allows it to get 5k per fill card you have on board, and triple strike for the battle. And you can get the 5 on board, making your unison up to a 40k triple strike base. And people might get scared of that and not want that to go through, so they negate it, and it's a way to push it through with this. But it's not worth it without a unison, which is it's really difficult with Black Smoke around, because I mainly use that because that's mainly a card that's mained and sided potentially for things like SS4 to get rid of unison, so it'd be something that he can still use against this as well. So while this can push through the unison strategy, it's a lot difficult, but if you've got this and want to try it out, it is still probably a decent way to finish out games. Then you've got Majin Buu Capito Kai Absorbed, so this is a decent secret rare if they are adopting this unison strategy, because once again, this is more of a like to get the full effect, you need to have a unison. It's playable for 2 energy as well, and works well offensively or defensively, because you can drop it for 2 as a 40k double strike for 2 energy. Not too bad to try and close out a game. Or you can use it, play it during your opponent's turn, activate main/battle to play it down for 2 and stop your opponent from attacking with battle cards for the turn. It's kind of like almost like a baby hatch. And has unique effect to steal your opponent's unison as well. So if your opponent's playing unison, you can also use this as a way to steal their unison by sacrificing yours off to grab theirs. And it's not a bad option if you don't have access to the previous ones. So if you don't have access to either the everyone's that are just generally good for all green decks, or the Buu to try and push through to like a more aggressive version, this can be a solid option as well. And that brings us to the last real good option for green, and that is Cell Zeno Unspeakable Abomination. And this is actually an option thanks to the release of the Fated Rivals duo, to get the energy requirement for this as well. It's not as strong since the errata, but it's still the cheapest option. It's a very cheap one given the reprint. And yeah, since it's got an errata, so now the quad strike is part of the auto, it's not as strong as it used to be, because it was insanely stupid and strong before. And it's also good for hand control version, as it rips 5 from hand with the Fated Rivals, because you bring out the Piccolo, swing twice with the Piccolo to take it to your cards at your opponent's hand, control on their board a bit, and then you get to drop this ripping 3 cards from hand, because you have, hopefully by then you have 5 energy. And one issue is it's not searchable for New Ruler due to being a multicolored card. So remember, New Ruler only searches for a mono green card. Now you might be thinking, where is the things like Invader's Foul and stuff like that? Well, Invader's Foul isn't that great. It's another extra card which clogs. It doesn't really don't do much. It can add to a hand control build, but then if you run into a hand control build, this cell is a lot better to rip more cards at hand. Or Invader's Vow, just 1 energy rips 2, which isn't too bad, and makes them discard what they want as well, which this does. Once again, just like Cells Kamehameha, the random discard. So that's the secret options. So next we're going to go into check out the Z deck, and then we'll go on to do some combos as well. So with the Z deck, as I said, it is it's not that great, because green once again has the worst kind of Z deck options compared to the other colors. All the other colors have a very strong generic one, at least, or like one or at least more than one, and some good options. Green doesn't really have that. But we do have is these though. So starting off with Frieza Resurrected Ambition. This is sadly the most generic green Z battle card in the game so far, which is sad. And one little benefit though is that Terrified Realization can make it a 20k double striker, so that's pretty cool, and provides a small bit of hand control removal with its auto, so the auto one play pops something 5 or less, and you can get a little bit of hand control with the second one. And it does have a low cost compared to most things, and it's available whenever you need it. So that's the nice thing with the Z deck cards, available whenever you need. And it's not too costly as well. Only 1 Z energy is not too bad for potentially a 20k double striker that can pop a blocker to push through that double strike swing. Then we have Journey Removal. This is the second best green Z battle card in the game so far. It does have a really nice little niche, which is being able to protect your berry blue for the turn using his auto. Because when it comes down, you get to protect something. 5 cost or less as a green battle card in play to stop it from being removed from the battle area until the end of your opponent's next turn. So being able to protect your berry blue with this. Don't know if it's really worth it because it does require 2 Z energy and 2 energy, but you can potentially use it to protect berry blue, but often you just normally want to protect itself or use it as a game ender. And that's because it does another niche it does have, which is quite useful, is adds another additional bit of unison hate whenever you need. So from the Z deck you bring it out and hate on unisons, but you still have to charge a lot of Z energy for it. And it can function as a hard to remove finisher, because once again, bring it out, protect itself with his auto, then use the activate main to power up to be a base 25k double, and try and push through with that. So not too bad. Then we have one of the probably nicer new additions to the Z deck that's actually not too bad with this deck, and that is Frieza Unexpected Assistance. This is a 1 cost 10k that requires 1 Z energy. It's available as a 1-drop blocker whenever you need it, so if you need to defend yourself, you've got a 1-drop blocker available anytime you use Z deck. It has a good use as fuel for Bardock Unison's -1 market skill, so because Bardock Unison just needs the KO the card, it doesn't matter if it doesn't have to send a drop, which you can't do with Z-Battle cards, just needs to pop a 1-drop, the trigger is +1 to, like I say, -1 basis +1 to be able to gain a marker and make your opponent discard one. So this is a nice use if you don't want to sacrifice your berry blue, don't have something in hand to play. You can always bring this out from your Z deck and trigger that, and it becomes a 15k blocker or attacker with Terrified Realization. Well, I don't think actually scratch that. It doesn't become a 15k blocker during your turn, but it becomes a 15k attacker during your turn to be able to swing for 15k for 1 energy from your Z deck. So that's a nice little niche you got there with this one. Then you've got the one that wasn't really made generically for green, but can still be used. It was more made for the cooler deck, and that is Golden Frieza Return of the Destroyer. It's an expensive Z-Battle card, but does have a nice little combo, which we'll go over in a bit. And because it has 4 Z energy costs, and it can be reduced the more you have green unisons drop, but unlike the cooler deck, you're not putting a lot of them in drop. And it also can help set up Golden Frieza Newfound Might for 2, which is kind of the combo, so we'll go over that in a bit. And at worst, it can be a 25k double striker for 2 if you need more if you have more Z energy than you need. So if you've been charging Z energy, comboing out of things, and charge up a load, you can make use of this being a 25k double to finish game if you want to, which it's technically fun because it's the same as Germ. That brings us to the last green the card you want in your Z deck that you have an option that's not too bad. That is SS Son Goku Awakened by Rage. It's another cheap option that you can add. It's a 1 cost with 2 Z energy. And it becomes a 15k to turn you play it with some protection. Versus auto, which is the only relevant one, is when it's played until the end of your opponent's next turn, it gains 5k power, making it 15, and can't be removed from your battle area by skills. So no popping, no removing, or anything like that. You have that little protection on a 1-cost battle card. And that's Z deck. Very poor options, but it's not often you use this, but it's just nice to have extra options should the need arise, like most decks. So now what we do, that's all with the main deck in the Z. We'll go ahead and look at the combos, different kind of like interesting combos you can play with King Cold. So now we come to the combos, and these are some of the nice little things that probably be best to know when it comes to playing King Cold, so you know these interactions, so it can help you, if you do decide to play this, to play it as more effectively. So my first one, a favourite one, and that is Anticipate Onslaught with Berry Blue and King Cold. Being able to spam out the King Cold promo with Anticipate Onslaught is fantastic, as the field card draws each time you do it, and can be removed from the board by King Cold. So the best thing is, like, turn 1, play out Anticipate Onslaught, play out Berry Blue can get that consistency going. And then if you can sack off, like with your leader, Anticipate Onslaught, and then replay Berry Blue, well, use Berry Blue to replay the field card, you can spam out King Cold, and then swinging with King Cold is like you just played out a free critical card. Swing with it, and then using the effect to sack off Anticipate Onslaught again, to then replay another one from your hand. To play out another King Cold, you can keep doing that as long as you have the energy for playing Anticipate Onslaught. And this is one of my favourite little combos, and as you've seen if you check out my gameplay, especially in the league games, you can see how I've used this to full effect. Just spam out like 2 to 3 of these on the board, and keep applying pressure with that. Nice cheap pressure, while also triggering your lead's effect to draw. Then we have the nice little thing of Terrified Realization with your Frieza clans. So Terrified Realization can give a nice little 5k boost to most of your cards, making even your Z deck stronger than usual. So making your Frieza Resurrect Ambition a 20k you've played from without using any resources straight from your Z deck, and even anticipate Frieza Unexpected Assistance. You also got making your Cooler counter play 20k, your King Cold promo 25, and even your King Cold Negate 20 as well. So giving a little boost in your turn to mostly all the battle cards you play and actually swing with is very, very, very nice. Then we have the Cell Zeno. If you do want to play the Cell Zeno as a secret, or you're on a budget and you want to play, and your only real option is to play Cell Zeno, then don't worry, because it's still a good one. Because Cell Zeno is a lot easier to pull off now with the release of Fated Rivals, being Goku Fated Rival and Piccolo Jr. Fated Rivals. And that we got on set 18. And to get full effect, you do need to wait until turn 5. So if you can hold off until turn 5, which you can kind of do defending yourself, like trying to grind your opponent's resources, you can now on turn 5 drop the Goku, pop something through barrier, swing to try and push him down to 4 life, and then drop the Piccolo, swing with that twice to 2 more cards at hand. And then once you've used those up, set them off for Cell Zeno for Successor, because 6 and 6 equals 12, as you know with maths, and you can get this effect off and have that down. Or even if you want to do it early, you can drop the like turn 3 as early as possible. You can drop the Goku, keep trying to pressure, and then just drop Zeno for at least a 40k swing after swinging with these two as well, like keeping their hand low and just pushing. You won't get the discard or anything like that, but you still get the free 40k swing you can drop for free after dropping these two. So you have a nice little combo if you use Cell Zeno. Then you've also got Son Goku Fated Rivals doing a very nice thing, because Fated Rivals is one of the best generic green cards that Green has had and received in a very good while. It provides strong barrier removal, which every deck needs, and it can even recycle cards like Paragus and Son Gohan. So, if you ever wanted to use more than just 4 super combos in a deck, King Cold is a very good way to do that, using recycling Goku. I know most Green decks can, but King Cold is pumping out and getting the 4 life very easy to trigger. They use defending Father Paragus to be able to go through your deck quicker and quicker and quicker, like finishing through it. And then putting it back, and you've got easy ways to shuffle your deck to make sure you can actually find defending the secret super combo again by using Barrier Blue. It's a very nice thing. So adding that barrier removal and recycling super combo is one really nice thing that Green does have. That is it can appeal to you if you want to as well. And also being able to make use of your Gohan rare. Being able to recycle that so you can never worry about unisons is very good. Being able to charge that and put it back in your deck to really get never good use out of it. So you've always got good targets for this, and it's one of my favourite combos for Green. And then we have a nice little fun combo, and while not the best, is Paragus to sacrifice with Cellmax. So Paragus used to be included to help clear your fields and help draw. That was before we got the King Cold promo. But nowadays, other cards do that better, but it has a nice niche in helping trigger Cellmax is also. So it used to be with Paragus, used to bring that out using like Terrified Realization, just paying 1, to be able to sack off your field cards, to draw a card and clear them off board so that you can replay them back with Berry Blue or another one from your hand. But since we got things like the King Cold promo, that niche is gone, because King Cold actually applies a pressure with critical swings and also gets sack them off while also popping cards as well. So Paragus got basically replaced. But there's a very nice niche in if you ever want to try and push, if you're ever trying to push your opponent just down to 1 and then want to try and finish your opponent with Cellmax, you can always do that by then bringing out Paragus, using effect to sack off the Cell. The Cell won't get to drop it, get removed from play, but it's still triggered the auto where it's tried to be removed from a battle by skill to not blow up all your opponent's battle cards and then deal damage to them. So place a card from the opponent's life in their drop. Very nice effect. So if you want to use that, that's the one little niche Paragus does have. Because as I said, it's a bit of an outdated card, but it does have that one niche if you want to try and focus on that. Then we have another nice little combo, thanks to, shout out to Damien from a team. He basically mentioned this about, that's a very nice little combo, and I thought I'd include this as well, because it is something that, since the release of Cell, the Ultimate Android Bio Android, it's been something I've wanted to, I kind of like to do with Green, but I felt like it wasn't as great because just how Green is. But a fun tech you can always try is these Cell cards together, because Cell Max has a protection effect while you have 3 or less energy, but with this combo you can attack with it and then protect it again. So Cell Max, if you've got 3 or less energy, it's got the permanent to allow you to have it not be removed from your battle area, but it can attack. And then Cell the Ultimate Bio Android can play itself out from your energy by paying 1 blue, which is itself, 1 green, and 2 of any energy. Play it from your energy to your board, to have a dual attacking, double striking 30k. That again make your opponent discard, wipe your opponent's board, ignoring your barrier, and then make your opponent bottom deck a card if they use a counter skill on its attack once per turn. So the nice little thing was this: you can drop Cell Max earlier in the turn, and then when you get to turn 4, which hopefully you've then on turn 4 you're charging this Cell, the Ultimate Bio Android. Cell Max now can actually attack because you have 4 energy, so you can swing with it to try and push through, force out negate, just trying to get an attack in so you can try and finish. And after that, you can use Cell the Ultimate Bio Android, tap yourself out, tap your 4, play himself for energy, put yourself back on the free energy to have the Cell out to put that pressure, clear the board, stop your barrier, and have to stop strike dual attacker. And then your Cell Max Secret Rare now has his protection back. Is already attacked, so it doesn't matter that it can't attack, but now it has that permanent protect itself again from being removed from your battle area by skills. Fantastic. If you want to try that out, it's an option. I might give it a try. I think it's to test it, but I don't think it's going to be amazing, but it's a nice little combo you could try as well. And same with any green deck as well, if you're interested in evergreen decks. Then we've got the Golden Frieza Return to Destroyer one. So if you're playing the Unison build, it is recommended to have this Golden Frieza Unison LC battle card in your Z deck, and then maybe this newfound power either in the main or in the side deck as a tech. Because it's a fun little combo where if you play the Unison build and you're using the Golden Frieza Z battle card to play out newfound might over your King Vegeta using +1 to play a field, you can get a nice little combo. So you can use King Vegeta to use his +1 to gain a player field card out, get the draw for your lead. Swing with it, then bring out this Golden Frieza Return of the Destroyer, and use his effect to pay 2. Basically play out your Golden Frieza over your King Vegeta, so you'll get that in power. You'll also get an extra marker on it as well, so it can be with one marker, then other markers you're taking over from King Vegeta, which hopefully free by them. And then you've got Golden Frieza, nuke their opponent's board, not your barrier. Golden Frieza's the amount card to pop whatever they've got, if they've got something classic through barrier, and have an extra 5k. And you've got the -4 from the Golden Frieza you potentially do, if you've got hopefully if you've kept it up to 4 markers on the King Vegeta, and then you can kind of go for that nice little play if you want to. So it's a very niche combo, but something you potentially do if you play the Unison build. And that brings us to the last little combo, being Unstoppable Invasion with Sun Gohan Latent Power Unleashed. With the loss of Buu Unison to being only 1 per turn, I think some blue decks aren't running, or they've only got 1. This used to be a very good combo dealing with any Unisons that your opponent had without needing Black Smoke, trying to just rip them apart. Because what you could do is you could just, in a battle, either when you're attacking or defending, combo with the Sun Gohan, let in Unleash Power, so it's in your combo, and basically be able to use the effect of your lead to sack off Unstoppable Invasion from your battle area. Unstoppable Invasion will then trigger and knock a mark off on your opponent's Unisons. And then if you survive once the battle's over, you then Z-charge the Sun Gohan, pay 1 green energy, and knock another 3 markers off the Unison. So your opponent's got 4 markers on it. You get to entirely rip it apart, 4 markers. Most of the time, as long as you focus on it, and even using this, you can focus on swinging something else, like playing Unstoppable Invasion, push through a huge leader swing, and then kill the Unison in this process as well. So that's that sort of thing of being able to use this as just during your turn or your opponent's turn, be able to ignore a Unison, just rip its markers off like that. It's pretty good. Especially when it comes down to Baby Unison as well, if you're playing against red and they still run that, be able to knock off the markers without any attack of it to try and, because it keep using the cards underneath it to protect itself, be able to just rip markers off it is sometimes a little bit better when it comes to dealing with Unisons. So that's the combos. So hopefully that explains some of the nice little combos you have for the deck, like little niche ones that help. Little niche ones as well, and actually strong ones used for the deck. And what we'll do, as I like to do, is go over to side deck as side deck and advice as well. So now we come to the sideboard, and let's have a look at what options we have for King Cold to help side. Starting off with the first one being the D-Magic hate, we have Vegeta protecting his loved ones. This is the untapped counter hate that every color has for against blue, mainly for D-Magic, but you have some things from Wheat Scourge and some decks do get their in-house D-Magic. And at worst, it's a barrier cantrip, so at the very least you get a draw card with it, or even charge it if need be. And it's solely included stop dimension magic from untapping energy. So if blue is prominent in the meta, and most blue decks, like a majority of them, are use D-Magic to defend themselves, you can use this to stop them getting the full benefit of it. But remember, they don't have to untap, so they can get around this without untapping, but they're then using energy to not get anything back and not getting the full benefit, which is a plus for you. Then we have the SS Bardock put on Unison. So this is a good side option to deal with the decks that need to charge Z energy, because it also allows you to rip a card from the combo once per turn during your player's turn. And it turns 1-drop cantrips into fuel for its +1 effect to control hands. So you can always make use, if you feel, like I've said before, if you feel Berry Blue isn't going to survive the next turn, you can always use it, just go ahead and preemptively pop it off to make your opponent discard 1 for the +1. And it also could be used as a finisher with its -3 effect, because the -3 is gives it 5k power and triple attack. It's got like 20k triple attacker on board, it's not too bad. As if your opponent leaves it alone as well. And it also has fodder for the +1 available anytime in the Z deck, being that 1-drop Frieza the Unexpected. So because the +1, it just needs you to choose one of your green battle cards and you got 1 and KO it. And since Z battle cards can be KO'd, just get removed from the game, and it doesn't need to be forced to go into the drop or anything. You can still use the Z deck cards to pop for that effect, make your opponent get the benefit of it, available any times, which is cool. So you got fodder available like in your Z deck. Then we have Dora, Brim and Power, so this is a strong counterplay to deal with floodgates when attacking. It does, however, have a heavy need of a Unison play to be used, because the first cost of it is you need to be a mono-green leader, which King Cold is, and have a green Unison play. But without a Unison, it can still function as a 5k combo at its worst, so that's the very nice thing. So while dealing with floodgates, you can still use a combo if your Unison does get removed. Then we have Focus Breakthrough. This is also a strong counterplay to deal with floodgates when attacking, and is also very easy to make live, as you generally awaken by 4, well, to 4 at least by turn 2. And unlike Dodoria, it doesn't have dual use of being a combo card because it's an extra card, but it still doesn't rely on a Unison, so this is a better option for the non-Unison build, and also hits a little bit more, being hitting at the 3 cost rather than 2 cost like Dodoria. Because even though some things are reduced, there are some floodgates it can hit that Dodoria can't, that are 3 cost as well. Then you have Blue Impulse. This is another good side deck option if you have the Unison version of the deck. It can be made cheaper by controlling green Unison, because thanks to the permanent. And it is a board wipe hitting everything except barrier if your opponent tries to play something during your turn. So your opponent tries to adopt the strategy to play things during your turn, you gain advantage, and basically act as like share the turn, be able what I mean by that is be able to share your turn, so you're basically both having the same turn, but you playing stuff and them also been playing stuff. You can punish them for that by using this as well. It's not too bad of a card, and it's pretty strong against certain matchups, but it's also dependent on the meta as well. Then we have Bigger More, and this is green's best. Really, this is Sand Hour. This is green's best option when it comes to dealing with the SS4 Goji 8 drop, because you have nothing really to kind of floodgate it to make it harder to go in at you, because it literally it's unaffected by everything, and it also makes it so you can't really respond with anything. And the problem with that, not just being that is the only option, but it also takes up most of your turn just to stop a card from that might not even be played. So you got to preemptively do this just for them not to even play the card you're dropping this for. And just like with most extra cards, it has the potential to clog your hand, because King Cold is quite a heavy extra card deck. And then you do also have Pretty Black Holes. It's cheap as a 1-drop counter with some added benefits. And also you can turn a big battle card like Fated Rival, Goku, into some removal as well. Because if you didn't know, it negates the attack, which is nice, which is really nice. And then you can pop one of your, you can choose one of your battle cards, negate your skills, and pop it to the drop. And if you do, you get a draw card, so you get a replace in hand, and then pop any number of your opponent's battle cards up to the energy cost of whatever you pop. So in terms of Fated Rival Goku, 6, and kill them. And then also that's all nice little thing it has in it, is that if you get the full effect, you get to replace it in hand. So it's a nice little one. But do remember, this won't work with Cell Max, because you'll negate the skills of Cell Max, and then try to get rid of it, and of course you can't place it in his owner's drop, so you won't get the effect off the Burn of Life, so be wary of that. And then we have Defender of Justice, so every colour has this, and it's the unnegatable counter that all colours have. It's handy against decks that push through swings with counter counters, and it's cheap as is a 1-cost negate. Yep, that's what this is mainly used for. If you go up against a deck where they're trying to put get to a certain push and then chuck a counter on the force it through and try and kill you in one big swoop, as we used to do with Red Sin with the red-yellow version. You can use this as a way to stop it, and they can't really stop it with counter counters because of its permanent. Then we go into some of the non-green cards that you can side deck from King Cold, and that is Koisekai. This is a very good one, because it can be set up in the drop without attacking thanks to New Ruler, so just sacking off New Ruler, the trigger its effect, so then draw a card and discard one, allows you to put this in without the need for combat. And it also helps punish players relying on floodgates. So if your opponent's trying to do a floodgate, you can just use one of your energy, help fix your hand a little bit as well, and make it so now you swing, and if they want to try and floodgate you, they get punished in hand. This is going to be aggressing with like crit swings, stuff like that. They're not going to keep the biggest of hands. And it has the added benefit of, yeah, just fixing your hand as well. So this is a very nice one. Normally I would put at least 2 of these in the side. This is a very good option as well for this deck. And then we have Bardock Fully Unleashed. So this is a solid overwhelm to help cover different needs for the certain decks. Because what I like to do with most of my decks is you would normally have one overwhelm as long as you can run overwhelm in your main deck. And sometimes it's best to side the another option, because some decks, like for example with the Bardock and the black Dark Broly and the Marseille, Dark Broly will hit just any target no matter what the cost, whereas Marseille can hit multiple targets over a smaller cost, being 6 cost. So being a side into that for different options is great, and this is one of those cards that can help deal with certain ones. Because in the meta, it helps in the meta to clear boards of big boss cards. If your opponent has like 2 8-drops, 2 6-drops, something like that on board, you can clear them both using this card as an overwhelm. So it's a nice little side deck option dependent on the meta. And now you might be thinking, what about some of these cards? Because we do have some other cards, like we do have Ribriam and Rosie, some cards that I've like seen a lot of play over the course of the game for green as like hand control options. Imagine Boo, negate as well. Toa's overwhelm. You got the new Ribrian Fated, Ribrian de Chateau, Elegant Fighter. You got the different super combos, because I already mentioned the Paragus one, and also you did get a Never Fill card in a TP and Demonic Advent to go like the whole Brody train. And I imagine someone probably has looked at this thinking, what about Commemorative Photo? Because yeah, it's probably one of the funniest and best cards in green. So we'll go over these. So Ribrian and Rosie, these are way too costly for hand control cards, because Ribrian needs to go and drop and pay 2, and pay 2 to make your opponent discard 2 in a meta now where people draw a lot is terrible. Like using 2 energy to do next to nothing apart from make your opponent just put 2 cards they didn't really care about in the drop is not great nowadays, especially for cold. It's too costly, and green needs to manage its resources a lot better. And Rosie is the same. It's just Rosie is just the same cost as the same thing as Ribrian, discards 2, and allow free energy to do the same as Ribrian by discarding 2. So 1 extra energy to do the same as Ribrian, but give yourself a triple attacking 15k, and that's not even that relevant anymore. 15k, because with Z leads now, where they go up to 20k base and stuff like that, or have an easier defense nowadays, Rosie is just paying too much energy to do very little. And then you've got Boo and Toa. So Boo is a very costly floodgate, being 2 energy and it needs to hit play as well. With it being like a quite floodgatey now, which kind of defend yourself. Floodgates aren't always hitting the board, and Boo needs to hit the board if it wants to actually go ahead and floodgate. If it doesn't hit the board, you just pay 2 energy to stop 1 attack, and that's it. And that's very costly. So Boo is not the greatest one to use. And also, you got a better in Archetype 1 in the King Cold as well, which is 1 less energy. And make sure they got discard 1 less card, but still, you've paid 1 less to do that, and actually played a body on board that could be a lot better, because this will only be a 10k. And Toa, sure, you can give your leader a 5k power boost, but you've got to do it beforehand, and then if they're already going to negate it, you can get a better boost off one of your fill cards, really. And to make him discard 1 isn't great, because it's just a tiny little bit of discard. You want to do like big discards, or easier discard as well. And yeah, 15k overwhelm is not as great when you've got things like the Vegeta 6-drop that can do the same similar thing, but being a 30k beat stick and make your opponent warp, so they can't use things like the border counter against you. Then we've got Brian the Chateau and Great Sailman. Brian, the only niche it has over Fated Rival, because Fated Rival could do the exact same thing and a lot better, being a bigger body, popping, and actually, yeah, having protection in itself and being a better body on board. Is Brienne's good for things where you can't run Fated Rivals if you can't run 6-drops or anything like that, or you can't run Saiyans like the Green Frieza. This is the better option for barrier removal, but in this deck, note you're going to be on Goku. And Great Saiyaman, White does have a niche. Paragus is always going to be better than this card. So yeah, Paragus is always going to be better than Great Saiyaman. And then we got the 2 extra cards being done on Advent. Relying on the Broly chain is not great, so I haven't included it as even a suggestion because it's just not very good. It doesn't really gain you anything, just puts a Broly on board. Can't really do anything until late on the turn, so it's not that great. Doesn't gain you an advantage either to your hand, so it's not a good extra card. And remember photo, yeah, if you're on a casual level or you want to be very, very trolly, you can run this in, but most players, especially the competitive environment, aren't going to actually honor you actually having the guts to play this. So if you want to be fun, go ahead. But yeah, people aren't always receptive to commemorate photo. But so that is the side deck options. Now what we're going to do is go to advice and how to side. So one thing I did want to do with these how to play is actually give some side decking advice, because that's what a lot what people have, I think I've seen people comment, is that some deck browser stuff don't really offer advice, like going really in depth. So trying to make with these how to play, understanding the deck, and also doing side deck advice and offering as much information as possible to help play the deck, which is something that we don't get often. And some side deck advice for King Cold is consider what cards in your main deck aren't crucial to your every game plan. So like things like Berry Blue are going to be crucial. Playing your field cards to get the draw on the leaders could be crucial. King Cold promo going to be crucial to get that pressure and like negate stuff like that. But things like if you come into a matchup where you got like a deck like say Supreme Kai, and they don't play many 4 cost less, your cooler counter play is not going to be very good. So when it comes to siding, those are going to be easy cards you can side out to bring in cards from your side deck into the main deck that actually help against a certain matchup. And same for the Floodgate negate as well, the King Cold Floodgate negate. If you feel the opponent's not going to really attack too much, like not attack with many things, not really aggro you, then you can always just side that out as well. And same with Cells Coming Out, if you got that mained and you feel it's not going to be useful, and say the SS4 matchup you need more combo power, actually cards that actually combo, or Floodgates to help you deal with, take that out and replace it back in. And with your side deck, you should mainly your side deck should mainly be there to deal with your bad matchups. So don't think about these could be handy against this matchup. Just think about what your worst matchups are with the deck, and then side deck things help with those bad matchups. Because there's no need to side deck for matchups that you're good with or not too bad with. The side deck should be there to deal with your worst matchups to give you that coverage as a way to assist in the so you come up against one of your worst matchups. And there are also some side deck options that are better included when going either first or second. So some cards you can put in where if you're going second, it's very, very good. Like the best example I could see for a side deck option like that is in red being the Vegito Unison. So if you're going first, you can get to your turn 4 quicker, and then slam that down. Uses -2 to make your opponent not able to play cards by skills for the until the end of the next turn. Things like that. So like cards that. There's some cards that you can put in your side deck that if you're going first, straight and slam that in to help you an advantage, or if you're going second, to help mitigate the fact that you're going second in the game. Also try to include cards that cover more than just one deck, unless that deck is an extremely bad matchup for yours. So when it comes to siding cards, you don't want a card that's side for a specific deck, because if you're siding it for a very specific deck and you don't go against that deck, you've just sided a card, you're running a side deck with less option. Like you're running less than 15 cards in your deck because that one card is not useful against any other matchup. So you want to make sure if you are siding cards that can help potentially more than just the one matchup. Unless, as I said, it's an extremely bad matchup, then you want that in, because if you do against it, it'll make it a lot easier. And lastly, make sure the side cards are similar in use, like battle cards for battle cards or extras for extras. One thing you don't want to do is take out things like some of your battle cards for more extra cards, because you're just making your deck more clawy to even the work more against you than it is helping you. So try to side out things if you've got Cells Coming Out in the main and you've got an extra card you want to side in, switch out extras for extras, so that way you're not really taking out combo power for cards that could be dead. You're taking cards that potentially be dead for the same situation, and even then like battle cards for battle cards, so they're kind of still having that usage like that. So do think about that, and even say when it comes to decks, when it comes to color as well. So you're siding in cards that are not green, more cards that are green in your deck for cards that aren't green. You come out for your side, you're giving yourself more options that you can potentially all see off of the new ruler to potentially make it so you get that minus. It's not going to come out often, but that could be useful. So that's the generic side decking advice. And then when it comes to it, if you are switching out cards of a similar type, making it easier and quicker to side, swapping out like Vegeta for Bardock. Some of the things, like if you're putting a Unison build, you can just straight up go, right, I need this Bardock Unison in my deck, take out Unison and Unison, switch that in, and it makes it a little bit quicker, because the quicker you can side, the quicker you can finish your game, because there are a lot of people in this game who take quite a long time to play, and quite slow. and as you've probably seen most of the time on like forums and stuff and in reports, people do try not to play slow. So the faster you side, the faster you can go ahead and play out your game. So understanding your knowledge of how to side, make it quicker for you to get that over and done with to play out your game. And then in matches where where cooler counterplay is not effective, you can also side in cards like Goku and Zamasu. So that's one nice thing. If you run 4 cooler, which is the optimal way to play it, including your deck, and you feel that's not going to be useful in a matchup, you can side it in for things like Kaioken and Fusamasu. This all functions that kind of hand control and could be cards that can actually be useful in certain matchups. And then you got like Cells Kamehameha. If you main those, you can use aside for more useful extra cards. I've opted now to play Cells in my main deck just to make so when I got that one use of energy that I leave up, I can make use of using this to help combo a little bit easier and rip card for your opponent's hand. And if I side in and feel this isn't going to be useful, or there's cards like Focus Breakthrough that could be more useful, or Defender Just to help actually be a negate, I can side the Cells out for a Focus Breakthrough as we discussed already. And the same with Overwhelm. It's nice to have that Overwhelm swap, so if you feel like the Overwhelm you've got in your main deck is going to be useful when you side deck, it's going to be more useful in that matchup. Switch it back out, it's easy switch, Overwhelm for Overwhelm, put in, and helps out with that coverage as well. Because especially in King Cold, you're not going to amass enough of a drop to Overwhelm multiple times, so having just that 1-for-1 is quite easy and quick to do as well. And then you also have, like, Bardock is probably one I want to talk about a little bit more, because Bardock is a really nice side to make use of Berry Blue if you feel like, as we said, if you won't last a turn, and having the unexpected turn as well. When given that we're in the Zenkai format as well, people more wanting to charge and use hand combo, and if you're kind of going the hand control route as well with Bardock, you're then making it so if your opponent wants a combo to try and get Z energy, you can rip that from the Z energy, and then they're using more cards from hand, which they don't have that many of, to try and charge to use Z energy just to get that Z energy open. And Bardock could be a very good one. So I feel like Bardock is one of the best green side deck cards to probably play in any green deck, especially King Cold as well, because you've got some cards as well to make good use of it. And yeah, if you're playing with the Unison version, you probably want to put in Blue Impulse as well, because it becomes very handy in if your opponent is just trying to establish anything or just play a Floodgate, like they've built a board and they've gone wide with a board, and then on your turn you swing and they play a Floodgate, they've now given you a way to basically just pop their board for 1 energy without needing to like go all in, and you can just end your turn, leave your energy up for the help defend yourself a little bit easier. And then yeah, one thing I do like to side, which depends on it, is a solid combo of Kaioken and Zamasu. I know we talked about it before, but with the dominance of red, like it is a solid combo, but with the dominance of red, indestructible isn't as strong, and given how many people receive green, people most likely side in anti-hand control cards, because that's one thing green. If most people they look at green and solely think hand control, they don't think of destruction, they don't think of aggression or think out or unison control. They just think it's green, hand control, and most of the people are just going to slap in their side deck some Deboras just in case they do against green. And if you're siding in things like this to help go against them, then you're just gonna give them ways to gain more cards and turn a negative into a plus, essentially. So that's one downside to this trio, and it's not so great in the current kind of red dominant format. And then we got one of the best cards you always want siding, always having your extra side deck, is Focus Breakthrough, because Focus Breakthrough is your best answer to stopping Floodgates without need for a Unison. And as I said, even though you can run the Unison and have the Doria, with people running Black Smoke for things like SS4, Black Smoke is going to be just another option for your deck to help get rid of Unison, to make that Doria even more useless. So Focus Breakthrough is probably the better option in this deck. And that's it for side deck advice. And what I want to do now is go over really your mulligan, like what you want to mulligan for, and also your turn progression as well, because I know that's very useful for this kind of breakdown of how to play. So now we come down to the part which really not many decks actually do cover, like not many deck profiles actually do cover, but I'm going to try and put more effort to cover as many things, including this, when it comes to my how to play videos. So with King Cole, with the mulligan. So your ideal mulligan for any version of the deck is to start off with any 2 of these field cards so that you can gain a good hand size and awaken by turn 2. So at the very least, drawing 2, you have 1 for turn 1 and at least 1 for turn 2. So turn 1 you make use of it by playing one of the field cards and getting the effect of a lead to take a life, draw 1, and then one of these to potentially take a life, draw 1 as well, or search the top card and stuff like that. And even Anticipate Onslaught being the best one to then play out the Berry Blue to help make it more consistent. And then turn 2, you want to play another one. If you have the Unison, you're going to play Unison, play the fill card. But if you don't have the Unison, you you want to make sure you got a fill card to help filter through. Try and find potentially another fill card to help you awaken turn 2, because that's your main thing you want to do. Awaken down by turn 2, so you've got everything ready and you can actually start your defense and be a little bit stronger. And also because you're getting a good hand size with this as well. And if you do Mulligan for Anticipated Onslaught, then some additional cards you can pair very nicely with that is Berry Blue and the King Cole promo. The best thing to do, like probably the absolute best thing you can do for turn 1, is start with Anticipated Onslaught and Berry Blue, because then you can play the Anticipated Onslaught, use effective lead first, always use effective lead first to take a life and draw 1, gaining you 2 cards. Anticipated Onslaught, then drawing 1 and free play out Berry Blue. Then Berry Blue using its nice little auto to then look at top 7 to find another fill card, so you got that ready set up for turn 2. And then onwards from that, if you get to when you get to turn 2, you can start using Berry Blue if it's still there to then replay out the Anticipated Onslaught after you sack off your lead and then start spamming out King Cole promos. And that is it for that. So we then go for the Mulligan. So remember, 2 fill cards you want for the Mulligan for, and if you do get Anticipated Onslaught being the best one, is to go for Berry Blue and King Cole, mainly Berry Blue at the 2. And then we have the turn play progression. So I've got a different way for if you play the non-unison build and if you play the unison build. So the turn progression for turn 1 was off the non-unison build. And that is turn 1, you want to play one of these fill cards to draw from your leader and get the benefit of the field. And the best one is Anticipated Onslaught if you have Berry Blue. So if you are against an aggressive deck, you want to prefer to start with Anticipated Onslaught because it doesn't need to take a life to gain advantage. It just draws 1. And it's the best way to also set up your Berry Blue as well to help find another fill card, get you ready for turn 2, so you can then start trying to push back against any aggression. But if you're against a deck that's not being very aggressive, or a deck that's not even going to take your life, to kind of hold you off, then you want to go ahead and use New Ruler at Terrified Realization, get them down to help take life to kind of make sure you can definitely go ahead and awaken by turn 2. Because one thing is that we'll see in a bit is that some people try to stall out your awakening, thinking you can't take more life. You can't take enough life to then go ahead and awaken, so try to hold off on that. So with turn 2, what you want to do is play the other fill card you didn't play turn 1 to help you awaken, and from one of them and the leader you can take the 2 life. So normally it'd be, if you play a New Ruler at Terrified Realization, you can go ahead and use leader effect, take a life to draw 1, then New Ruler at Terrified Realization, take a life, then gain the benefit of drawing 1 looking potentially top 3. And then that way you're on 6 life, so turn 2 you can then go ahead and play another fill card in a New Rule if you didn't play it turn 1, or Terrified Realization if you didn't play that turn 1, to then do the same, take a life, draw 1 with lead, take a life with one of them, and then draw a card, or look at top, and then make use of that ever energy, and then you now able to awaken. Sometimes if you did something like play Anticipated Onslaught in your first turn, and then use leader, take a life, draw 1, and then Onslaught, draw 1 and play a Berry Blue, and something like that, your opponent might not try to attack you to leave you at 7 life, so that way thinking you can't awaken. But you can then punish them by making them think you didn't and gain more cards by playing out 2 fill cards, being New Rule and Terrified Realization. Because if you have those 2 fill cards for turn 2 after playing Onslaught and you left you at 7 life, you play one of them, then leader will take your life to draw 1, put you down to 6. Then the fill card, say it's New Ruler, take a life, well it doesn't matter which one, then whatever fill card you play, take a life and then get the benefit. And then use the Ever Energy to play the Ever fill card to then take your 5th life, could put you off to 4, gain the advantage. Now you can flip over, and if you've got Berry Blue on board, you don't have to worry about having a never fill that's not one of these on the board, because you're going to swing the lead, sack off the fill card on board to then make it a big swing, then Berry Blue replay it to then get the benefit of that, get the draw on your lead as well, and then have that last energy open for a play. And yeah, if you do manage to do that, and say you do manage to do that, and you manage to get the 4 life without using both of your energy, you can use one of the above to make use of it before you trigger the awaken. So yeah, if you do manage to still have 1 energy open, you want to make use of that before you awaken, because otherwise you just wasted an energy, which is not great. So what you can either do is play a Berry Blue out, kind of search for a narrow fill card, and then have it so when you awaken, you've got Berry Blue on field if you didn't play it before by Anticipated Onslaught in the turn before or already in this turn. You're going to use that to make use of an energy to then play out a fill card to get the leader's draw as well. Make better use of keeping your hand healthy and keep your hand high. Or you can make use of things like the Great Ape if you run this in like a more critical focus build. You can then use the energy because it doesn't have a turn restriction when you can play it. You just need to activate main limit 1 for 1 green. If a field extra is in the player's battle area, plays from your hand. So if you take yourself down to 4 on turn 2 and you start the energy open, you can chuck down this King Vegeta ape, make use of energy, then awaken, and then carry on as normal. And you've got this 90k critical guy, or a blocker, depending on how you want to use it. It's a very useful thing. And as well on turn 2, if you've seen, once again, I'm going to keep repeating this, if you've seen my gameplay versus Peter, teammate, great guy, in the league or any of my other King Cold games, you'll see that you can spam out this King Cold transfer of power. So once you're awakened, if you have Berry Blue on board, you can use the leader's swing, pop anticipated, and then and then get off the board. And if it is off the board, you can then use Berry Blue. Well, if Berry Blue is on the board, you can then use Berry Blue to replay it and free play out King Cold. Because remember, with King Cold, you need to, for every 2 green extra cards in your battle area and or drop, you can use any cost of this by 1. So at very least 2, because it's got 2 specified green. And so what you need is the fill card you start off with, 2 other fill cards on board, and anticipate onslaught. And then you sack off onslaught, so then you still have on board. Then you can play it back out and play the anticipate onslaught out to have 4. Make King Cold down to 2, play it off that, and then you can also spam it as well. Because then you can go ahead and use swing with King Cold as 20 to 25k critical swing if you've got Terrified Realization on board, and then use King Cold to sack off onslaught, so you can either try to see energy or then replay it again to spam out never more King Colds, and that's how you get a free board, like a board full of good swings and good battle cards on board without using too much energy. Like very good cost, very good, especially for a green deck. And then the other part of turn 2, so we're still not done with turn 2 yet, is with the last energy. So make sure you want to try and make use of this energy before you awaken. Make use of that 1 energy, either play a field from your hand or use Berry Blue to play back out a field from your drop after you've sacked it off with the lead. And then with the energy open, with the last energy you have untapped, you can save it for your opponent's turn to disrupt them with 1 of these, depending on what you have. So you have none of these. If you have none of these, of course, just make use of energy, because there's no point in bluffing the energy out. Unless you want to, you can bluff if you want. But normally, if you've got one of these in your hand, you want to keep the energy open, so you can use one of these defensively. Or a Cooler to stop one of their card swings. King Cold to use as a floodgate negate and establish a board. Gohan to then use it to help knock markers off your opponent's unison. Or Cells coming hard to defend a potential big swing that can come in and rip a card from your hand. So you just keep that energy open or use it. And then from turn 3 onwards, once you get to turn 3, it becomes dependent on what you have and the game state you're in. So always leave 1 energy open each turn for your defensive options. So you want to make use of your energy, but leave 1 energy open defensively each time, because you want to play a fill card for the turn. Make sure you can play a fill card for the turn, and then go ahead and get the benefit of your lead. You want your lead effect to draw, and the fill card to get that benefit of drawing or doing something great. You even got things like Goku's Fated Rival. You can then drop out for 2 energy, pop something for barrier, and you've got this really nice thing, cycling super combo, and a big beat stick you can swing that's got protection to stop your opponent from really trying to get rid of it. You can spam out King Cold, transfer of power, depending on how many you have, just push some crit pressure, manage the board, and make it so they're not having a good time. And then you leave that 1 energy for things like we saw the extra the cards before, using things like Cooler, Effortless Strike to just stop one of the plays, and then keep the manage their hand, or even as a negate. Cells coming out, things like that, to help make sure you can slow your opponent's turn easier and disrupt whatever play they want to do, because you can cover almost anything in this deck. And then it comes to learning as well that we have good negates, like good way defense, because remember that we have 3 counter plays to help you defend and also manage your opponent's resources. So Supreme Ruler is a really nice floodgate in the no unison build. So remember, you have Royal Supremacy that while you have 3 or more fill cards on board, you can add this a free negate that just negates the attack and also can clear some stuff from your opponent's board. You also have Homicidal Clones, which are live really quickly as well, because you get yourself down to 4 life to make this as a free negate. To negate an attack, play a blocker as well. And remember, that token has combo power, so at the very least you can combo it if it survives the turn. And King Cold, if you're not playing the user build, this is great because when it comes down, as long as they don't stop it from coming down or stop its effects from going off when it hits the board, is it makes your opponent discard 1 for every time they want to attack your leader. And if you're not playing the unison build, they're not going to be able to get over some of your battle cards. Could be like 20k to 30k defensively, so they're going to have a hard time comboing up. They still need comboing up to try and get rid of those anyway, so they're not going to go for that. And if they can't attack your leader without discarding, they might just end the turn. So King Cold is kind of like a floodgate negate that can actually stops an attack. and can make it so your opponent might just end the turn and not try to swing through. Because if they can't kill your lead, which you can do quite a bit of defense with, like super combos that life straight away, you can have 3 negates that can then make them discard 1, you're just helping manage their board. And even things that Self Kamehameha, if you still got energy open, to outcome a card and make him discard even more, is going to make it a hard time for them to actually try and still push through this. So that's one thing to recommend. And then we have it if you run the Unison build. So if you run the Unison build, we have turn 1. If you're playing Unison build, then you want preferably start with a field card that takes a life, so you can guarantee you awake by turn 2 with the Unison out. So what I mean by this is that when you go for turn 2, you can play Unison out to play 1 field card, and then that's 1 field because if you have 1 field card that takes life, you have leader and a field card that takes life, and you have no more energy because you paid 2 for the Unison. So you ideally want to turn 2, have one of these 3 field cards here, so you can turn 1, play it, lead effect, take a life, draw 1, one of these take a life, and then get an effect. Preferably you want New Ruler to Terrified Realization because Unstoppable Invasion doesn't actually draw a card, and turn 1 you're not going to really have much use of making your leader 25k double or 20k double on turn 1 when you can't attack. So preferably you want the first 2. And then on turn 2, you want to play Unison and make use of its +1 skill to play a field card, so that you can take a life, make sure you're going to then hit forward to awaken, and then you're in a good position when you're now awakened. You play another field card out using 1 energy, and then you have your Unison out, leader swing, field cards, and 1 energy to defend yourself to kind of protect the Unison. So ideally, whichever one of these you didn't play, or even the Unstoppable Invasion, as long as you've got another field card take a life, you play the Unison, +1, play out a field card, take a life with lead and draw 1, use the field to take your life from 5 to 4, get the benefit off, and then awaken, depending on if you played Unstoppable Invasion, and then get energy open, so you can then play another field card and make use of it. Because the longer this Unison stays on the board, the more you can just free play a field card from your hand to then go ahead and keep your energy free while also getting the draw from your lead. And also a nice thing about this is that Unison build provides you with Charismatic Villain, which means that with Call Effort Strike as well, you can potentially get 2 great counters per turn. So meaning that you can use that 1 energy to use a caller to stop something small, and then Frieza, then pop something a bit bigger with a 3 counter play. So get 2 counters in the turn and 1 of them free. Then from turn 3 onwards, you do the same as you would in non-Unison build, but you have the added benefit of free playing the fields from your hand, freeing up energy for other plays like more Fated Rivals, more Z-Deck and stuff like that, being more spammable. So that's one nice little benefit. And the only issue with the Unison build, or the biggest issue with the Unison build, is that your Unison is easily removed by Black Smoke, which most decks sideboard for decks like SS4 and Gogeta we already mentioned. So do watch out for that. So that is it for the Mulligan. So now what I'm going to do is go over some example deck lists you've got some to have a look at, and these are the ones that I have down in the description below as well, so do check them out. So before we end up this video, going teaching you how to play King Cold, I do have 3 example deck lists to play to show you. Also, even though I know it is quite small on screen, hopefully you can still see the amounts. I think this is a better view thanks to Deck Planet, the best deck building website in the game, and well, the only one in the game. And this allows you to show you the different versions, and also the link down to the deck list links is in the description below. So if you want to go and check it out easier to see it a little bit clearer, go down and check out the links. But this one is the standard version and offers flexibility in switching between being defensive and aggressive, and it does play the Unison, so it's the Unison build that can be flexible, and it is very nice. And what I mean by flexibility is that you can be quite defensive with it, being like quite controlling, and then you can be more aggressive as well. Like you be more defensive by keeping charismatic and the Call Effort Strike to just keep controlling, like using things like Goku to pop things on board, King Cold to pop things on board, and just going for critical swings at just drain resources and managing your field cards through that. And then you can be more defensive using your counters, just controlling the board, and then being more aggressive by putting just things out, establishing the board, and then just going full feld in a turn, using like dropping Cell Max later on in the game, then go for a quad string that could take it down to 4-0. And things like that. So this is a more flexible build with the Unison. And then we have this one being the more aggressive version, focusing on pushing with critical swings and closing the game with Unison backed by the Secret Rare. So before we saw the Cell Max one, and this is one that focuses more on, with the Unison build, trying to push through and use your Secret Rare as like the Unison as a good way to push through, because green is the along with black, well, don't think black has any counter counters apart from like niche ones for like the extra cards, but green and black are both the colors that don't really have like generic easy to use counter plays like red potentially has and yellow and blue definitely have. Its counter takes up your secret slot, so even though yellow gets one in super combo, it's still a very strong one, but green has it in a not too costly, but a counter that is got more restrictions, more hoops to go through than most of the other counters. And this is a version where you focus on the unison, just putting pressure for that, using its way to push through at triple strike, also having the Vegeta Ape to apply more critical swings, so you're going with spamming out the King Cold, push through his critical swings, Ape, try to make your opponent deal with that, where you're just using unison to kind of get the markers up, and then you push through the unison to go with the triple strike, and then have it backed by the secret rare as well, to push for a 40k triple strike. That is hard for most decks to deal with, especially when it comes to unisons as well. So that's the list as well, and you got side deck into things like you can side deck the dormants to help if you go against aggressive decks, more board clear as well, so you can get rid of any blockers that potentially block the unison, and yeah, trying to be more like aggressive with critical swings and push through as a unison as your main win con. And that brings us to the last one, and this is more the non-usable, and this is the build I'm currently using because I've just found the unison isn't as something I like at the moment. Like, it feels a bit too costly, and that's one big issue with green, is that everything's way more costly in green than it is in any color. So if you have something similar in green than any other color, it's more cheaper in that color than it is in green. And also, if you do fear black smoke just removing unison very easily, then this is an option. And as I said, it's my preferred one because you're just making yourself use of unison, and you also have access to the King Cold, which is a lot better in this than the unison build. Because if you use it in the unison build, you unison out, then you get your opponent just swinging into unison, which the King Cold negate doesn't affect them then, because it only affects them if they attack the leader. So this is my option. I just need to work on the side deck a little bit more because I'm trying to work it more towards dealing with it. I think it deals with red quite well in the format, and you just got to learn how to play it. Which, if you follow my turn progression, keeping that energy open for like things like the call to counter play to help deal with it, using that energy to defend your turn a little bit easier, and just managing swings correctly, you can have a good time and do well with this in this deck. So that is it for my how to play King Cold. So hopefully that has been very helpful for you, and hopefully if you're interested in King Cold and want to try out, or you're a green fanatic that wants to play a green deck, I feel this is the best of the green decks. Like, you can quote me on that. I feel that it is the best green deck. And if it has been helpful, just let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you do like this and want to see more of these how to plays, or have a deck you want me to do a how to play on, feel free to comment that below. Also, don't forget to give it a like if you do enjoy this kind of content, and also don't forget to subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subs, and we hope to get there by the end of the year. And we're going up quite a bit quicker now, which is nice to see. So once again, thank you all for watching, much appreciated, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.